starting a journey. The journey towards the cross in Jerusalem. It's a whole different way. Now, this is summertime, and it's journey time, road trip time, right? Maybe you've noticed the smile starting to appear on my face lately. See, it's getting that much closer to vacation time, right? We're going to load up the family, and off we go to the Outer Banks. Now, this sounds wonderful, right? Journeys are always supposed to be great. We have the best plans for our journeys, and they never quite work out the exact same way we thought they would, right? Things happen, right? I mean, think about it. Let's start this journey off, all right? We're taking 6 people on vacation this year. Now, I want you to go and count the seats in our cars. There are 5. So that isn't going to work, right? So, I use my noodle and I'm going to borrow a conversion van. All right? My brother has a conversion van I'm going to borrow. So I figured, let's take a trial run. Rachel's coming up. I'm not using it. $5 again. Just simply mentioning this part of the story. We're going to bring her back from school, so I figured let's take the van and see how much it will hold. So I get the van, bring it home, park it in the driveway, right at the top of the driveway, all the other cars are in the back. That morning I had a funeral on Saturday morning before I had to go pick her up. So I go out, start the van, and it starts right up, 3 seconds, and out. Started it up again, 3 seconds, and out. The van wouldn't move. So now I've got the van blocking all the cars in the back. The van that we're going to take down to the Outer Banks. And I'm just trying this out, thankfully. It worked out. Needed a new computer. It's okay, it's all set now. The van's ready to go. Alright, it's all set. So we're going to be able to get 6 people in the van. I might have to try to make it. Journeys need to have entertainment and excitement, right? So, we'll make it. It'll be a good journey, but they never go and work the way that we want. Road trips are always interesting. Jesus is starting a road trip here. Road trips don't come with guarantees of safety and success. And that's one of the things we're learning in these passages this morning. Road trips, they come with potholes and pitfalls, genuine dangers and encounters with the unknown and the unpredictable. This week's gospel in Luke, it starts off with the ultimate road trip, right? That journey starting to Jerusalem and the cross. The world views this journey as the epitome of a bad trip, a trip that ended in betrayal, rejection, torture, and death. But Jesus' disciples, whether in the 1st century or the 21st century, they view this Jerusalem road trip as something quite different. It is the start of the great mission story, the triumph of Christ's mission in the world, the journey that transformed all of life's past and all subsequent generations who followed Christ. In our text this morning, Jesus reveals for us a couple surprising road rules, if you will. And I took these off of Leonard's too, so I'm hoping you like these. These are pretty good. There are 4 road rules that Jesus teaches us here in this passage. Each one's going to be explored a little bit as we go. I'm going to say them right now so you understand where we're going. First is, to be on the road with Jesus, all right, it isn't going to be on breakneck super highways all the time. Not the success, not the superiority. Traveling with Jesus usually means going on the pathways, those alleyways, all the byways, and they're the byways of sacrifice and service. That's what we travel. Not on the super highways of success and superiority. 2, there's no roadmap. Only broken paths, the relationship with one along the way to guide you. No roadmap. 3, travelers need to beware. The road is full of robbers and dangers. 4, you can't drive without a rearview mirror. Alright? There's a front windshield that's in the front. But you pay your debt to the past by investing in the future. What you owe the past is to own your future. So, let's start with the journey. The fact that Jesus' journey to Jerusalem wasn't going to be down some familiar beaten pathway of life, it was evident from the beginning. It really was. See, Galilean Jews most invariably traveled a longer, more certain, it's the long route. Whenever they're heading down to Jerusalem, they go through the Transjordan. In this way, they completely bypassed the Samaritan regions. Remember the Samaritans? The Samaritans, other Jews, they had this long standing Hatfield and McCoy type feud that simmered hot and cold periodically and boiled over to outright violence between the Jews and Samaritans. The Samaritans could never accept the fact that Jerusalem was the place that in its temple is the center of Jewish life and faith. They worshipped in their own territory at a shrine on Mount Gerizim. They also interpreted scriptures a little differently, and they had alternate expectations of the Messiah in the Jerusalem Jews. So they were very different. They didn't get along very well. Yet Jesus, so whenever most Jews were traveling, they would go around that region. Jesus traveled right through it on his way. He went right through the Samaritan region as he started out this road trip to Jerusalem. Jesus chose to invite and to include this ostracized group right at the outset. And we learned that they quickly rejected it. Isn't it any wonder then that James and John respond with the recommendation of bringing down the fire upon them, right? Like any good feud, they wanted revenge. They wanted to get in, and they wanted to hit him first. James and John didn't realize that as followers of Jesus, they weren't on the road to revenge. They were on the road to redemption. Jesus' journey to Jerusalem wasn't a superhighway to superiority. It was a sacrificial pathway to service. Rejection was a part of the scene. Retaliation was never even on the roadmap. They didn't have it. To follow Jesus to Jerusalem, to be a disciple on the way with the one who is the way, means taking that slap across the face and then offering the other cheek. Disciples, they don't call down fire that burns and destroys. No, disciples call down fire that heals. The fire that brings the Spirit, as remember in Acts, the tongues of fire came down in Pentecost. Disciples don't really call down fire. Disciples call up and call upon the name of Jesus. Second, as Jesus' road trip continues, though, he encounters others who thought that they might want to come along on the journey. See, this is tying back to Elisha and Elisha. It's tying back to them. And there were 3 different stops where people said, today's going to be taken. Remember? We read that. And Elisha says, shh, keep quiet. Even as Luke's narrative just revealed this radical distinction between Jesus and Elijah, he now offers this connection between the two. Elijah's disciple Elisha is 3 times instructed by his master to stay behind, right? To quit following. Yet all 3 times, Elisha refuses and continues following Elijah into the ominous situations that he goes. Nothing deters Elisha's commitment to follow. Here in Luke's text, Jesus is approached 3 separate times by would-be disciples, if you will. But the challenges incurred by immediately following, they're apparently too much for these folks. The first would-be follower claimed the desire to follow Jesus wherever you go. I would do, right? Jesus' surprising response reveals that there's no established roadmap for disciples. Disciples don't know where they're going. They only know who they're going with. Followers of Jesus don't know where they're going to spend their lives. They only know how they will spend their lives. And they will spend their lives serving Christ. That's what disciples do. On a road trip, there's always some bad news. Construction delays, bridges out, flat tires, flooded roadways, lost luggage, credit cards get declined when you forget to tell them that you're traveling. But committed travelers keep on going. Third, one of Jesus' most shocking statements is found in this text. Potential follower requests permission to first go and bury his father. Now, this seems to be one of the most basic, decent, honorable acts that children of people are supposed to do. Aren't we required to honor our father and mother? Wouldn't that be the utmost act of honor, as in burying our parents? Yet Jesus offers an intentionally, shockingly different course of action. Let the dead bury their own. You go and proclaim the kingdom of God. Now, to follow Jesus may require disciples to fly in the face of conventional wisdom and established expectations. That's what we need to learn out of that passage. The road trip to Jerusalem is not your standard stroll or a ride on a one-trick pony, if you will. It's going to be a rough ride. It can be a roller coaster ride. You're going to get those high highs They brought life to completion. It ultimately triumphs over any bad news that there could possibly be. Death itself no longer has the last word. Death is no longer the final act, if you will. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And sometimes it needs to be out of the expected way of living. That's what being a disciple is. Finally, Jesus faced another disciple who promised to follow, only if he could first return home and say a proper goodbye to his family. This would-be follower wanted to retrace his step backwards before daring to start out with Jerusalem towards Jesus. But you can't start the journey until you get out the front door, right? You can't face forward while you're looking over your shoulder. Nathan, if you ever work on your driver's license, you can't go forward like this, right? Remember that. You're welcome. You can't face forward while you're looking over your shoulder. This is the power of the image of the pillar of salt. Remember Lot's wife? She couldn't stop looking back, and she shed so many tears of goodbye that she cried herself right into a pillar of salt. You can't walk backwards down the stairs and expect to get higher. As disciples travel the road to Jerusalem with Jesus, we must face forward. No matter how hard that view is, no matter how harsh the view is, no matter what obstacle we see in our way, we need to keep heading forward. See, that's what it is with being a disciple of Jesus Christ. And Jesus gives us this story to help us understand what being a disciple of Jesus Christ is like. We are on this wild journey with Jesus, and we're expecting one thing. And disciples of Jesus Christ need to understand that the journey is going to look something totally different. Did you happen to see yesterday some of the images of the flooding in West Virginia? You head to a supermarket, you think, fine, we'll be at a supermarket. You come out and you can't leave. The road coming in is washed out. A bump in the road, right? A huge one. That flooding was horrible down there. People are learning how to do things differently today. There's devastation, there's death, there's destruction. And you need to learn how to do things in a different way. That was one of the things that I read in the paper last night. People are saying, West Virginians, they know how to improvise. And they'll make this work out okay. It's sad, it's horrible, but it's going to work out okay. We need to be praying for them. We need to be doing what we can. But we're on the same journey we are with them. And those lessons apply to them just as they apply to us as being disciples of Jesus Christ. No matter what that looks like ahead. Be ready for something different. Be ready to improvise. Be ready for the rules to change. Be ready to live in a way that's different than what the world says you should be doing. So whenever we're on this road with Jesus, we need to remember those two things. One, to be on the road with Jesus. It isn't about being on a breakneck superhighway where we're on success and superiority over others. No, my friends, we're journeying down those back alley pathways and those appalling byways, and they're all filled with sacrifice and service. Remember, there is no roadmap, my friends. There's only road paths. A relationship with the one who is on the way. Follow him. And we need to beware when we're on the journey. The road is always filled with dangers and robbers. And remember, you can't drive forward looking in the rearview mirror. You have to, that front window faces forward, not backwards. We pay our debt, my friends, to the past by investing in the future. What we owe the past is for us to own the future. So as we're traveling down the journey with Jesus, we may not be on our way to Jerusalem, but my friends, we're on our way to discipleship. We're on our way to following Christ in really exciting ways, but they're going to be difficult. There's going to be treachery. We need to remember what the past informs us, but we need to keep an eye on the future and be ready to face whatever God gives us in our way. Whenever that van doesn't fire up in the morning, well, we find a way to fix it, and we go on our journey anyway. Rachel and all of her stuff made it home. Sure, there was a little delay. I'll rate $5. She was. There was a lot of in-between work that needed to be done, but it all worked out. Many of our journeys are going to be different than what we think they are. And our journey with Christ is no different. But remember, we're on the road with Christ. Let's follow Christ. May God bless you this day. May God bless us to be the people that God calls us to be. And may we be excited about the journey of life.